6 months post-divorce, a life-changing call exposes an incredible secret: you're the father. Jake wiped the sweat from his brow, the familiar scent of metal and grease swirling in the air around him. It was just another stifling afternoon at M&M Garage, where broken engines and the weight of his recent divorce muscled in on his thoughts. The neighborhood was once filled with admiration for his hard work, but whispers now followed him like shadows. Look at him, they'd say. Divorced and alone. Beneath his rugged exterior, Jake felt like a shell. Every clang of a wrench against a car frame echoed his loneliness, not a single spark of hope on the horizon. Then, the phone rang, shattering the monotonous hum of the garage. It was Derek, an old friend whose voice trembled with urgency and dread. "Jake, you have a daughter, Emily. She's 8. The words hit him like a punch to the gut, leaving him breathless. A daughter? Images of a little girl with tousled hair and wide eyes flickered in his mind, but confusion took center stage. How had he not known? The shaky past that had led to his divorce loomed dangerously close, its darkness sneaking back into his life. As the news settled in, a whirlwind of emotions surged. Could he step up, overcome the sensation of losing his family dreams? Memories of laughter and warmth swelled in his chest, replaced by aching regret. Jake began his journey into fatherhood, navigating uncharted waters and shifting the focus of his life from fixing cars to connecting with Emily. He stepped into the community center, helping where he could, trying to forge a new path. In the midst of his own uncertainty, families around him crumbled, their struggles mirroring his own. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, as Jake tried to connect with Emily, the weight of class prejudice crashed in. As he walked hand in hand with her in the park, sour looks flickered from other parents. Could they see the grease stains still clinging to his hands? He fought against feelings of inadequacy, wanting to show her fatherhood isn't about money but love. Each small moment of laughter felt significant, digging their bond deeper, yet uncertainties danced between them like shadows. But just when he thought they were on the right path, secrets about Emily's mother surfaced, threatening to unravel everything he had begun to build. Jake stood at a crossroads, heart pounding, a chance to step back for Emily's sake or fight through the chaos that surrounded them. Just as he contemplated the difficult choice, a soft voice cut through the heavy air. "Dad?" Desire and fear knotted together in his chest. Could he truly embrace this role? Was he the father she deserved? As hope stirred in him, the question echoed, would he rise, facing the storm of judgment and disapproval, and discover what it truly means to reclaim a family amid the struggle? Jake looked down at Emily, her eyes searching his, full of innocence and trust. The tender question hung in the air, a decision waiting to be made. Tears threatened to spill as he realized just how much he wanted to be the dad she needed. But the burden of their reality weighed heavily on him. What if he messed this up? What if the shadows of past mistakes loomed so large they swallowed them both? "Emily," he began, his voice a shaky whisper. He knelt down to her level, brushing back a strand of hair from her face. I want to be a good dad. I just need to figure out how." She smiled, a bright spark in the smoky world they lived in. "Can we go to the playground? You can push me on the swings." Her excitement lit up the dull afternoon, and for a moment, Jake forgot the worries clawing at his insides. "Of course. Let us go," he replied, his heart swelling with determination. They made their way to the swings, small voices of children filled the air, mixing with the laughter and shouts of parents. Jake hesitated as they passed a group of looks that mirrored his own insecurities. The slicked-back hair of a man in a suit caught his eye, the disdain barely hidden behind a practiced smile as he pointed at Jake and Emily. He turned back, heat creeping up his neck, but then Emily giggled as she leaped onto the swing, her tiny legs pumping with joy. "Higher, Dad!" she cried out, and that simplicity melted some of his tension. With each push, the adrenaline buzzed in him, reminding him that connection could be found in the most unexpected places. Jake watched as her laughter echoed in the air, and the weight on his chest shifted slightly. He felt more in that moment than he had in months. He was laughing too, forgetting the judgment of others. Here, under the open sky, they were just a father and daughter. A shadow fell across them. Jake turned, reluctantly, to see a woman standing there, arms crossed, a frown on her face. "Excuse me," she interrupted, voice sharp like glass. "She's not safe here, you shouldn't be with her." Jake's heart sank, it felt like a punch to the gut. He opened his mouth, searching for words that wouldn't come. Last time he was too weak to stand up for what was his. He could feel Emily's small hand gripping his leg, her innocence about to be shattered by someone else's judgment. "She's my daughter," he finally managed, the anger boiling in his veins. "I'm here for her. I'm trying." The woman didn't relent but moved closer, her words slicing through the laughter. "You? Try being a parent? I doubt you even know how." Jake glanced at Emily, those wide eyes searching his face for reassurance. The little girl didn't deserve this confrontation, this burden thrust upon her. In that moment, everything clicked into place. It wasn't just about proving people wrong, it was about being there for Emily, showing her love amidst the chaos. He wouldn't back down. "Enough," he said firmly, standing tall. "I'll do whatever it takes to give her the life she deserves." As the woman huffed in annoyance and walked away, Jake looked down at Emily. "You okay, kiddo?" She nodded, but he could see the concern etched on her face. "Are you? Will they all be mean to us?" "No one is going to take us apart, Em," he reassured her, taking her small hand in his. "I promise I won't let that happen." But as they made their way back to the swings, shadows danced in the corners of his mind. Could he truly protect her from the storms brewing around them? He needed a plan, a way to tackle the secrets that hung tight like a noose around their necks. What else was lurking in the dark corners that he was yet to uncover? And then something in his pocket buzzed, a familiar ringtone cutting through his thoughts. A call, one he wasn't prepared for. What if more revelations awaited him on the other end? Jake swallowed hard, an unsettling feeling slipping into the pit of his stomach. It was time to answer, but would it bring them closer together, or tear their fragile bond apart? Jake's heart raced as he fished his phone out of his pocket, the screen glowing with a name that sent a shudder down his spine. It was Karen, his ex-wife. A part of him wanted to ignore it, to let it go to voicemail, but another part, the anxious whisper, pushed him forward. What if this call was about Emily? What if it was something important? "Dad?" Emily's small voice broke through his thoughts, looking up at him with concern. He took a deep breath, silently willing himself to stay calm. "Just a second, Em," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. He stepped a few paces away, glancing around to ensure they weren't overheard as the cheerful chaos of the playground buzzed around him. "Hello?" he answered, feeling the tension charge the air. "Jake. We need to talk." Karen's voice came through, cool and calculated. "It's about custody." His stomach twisted. What about custody? There was an edge to his tone now, protective instincts rising. There was a pause, one that stretched out like a rubber band ready to snap. "I found something." Something important. She hesitated, almost as if weighing her words. "You might want to sit down for this." "Just say it," he insisted, the urgency in his voice making his heart thud harder. Emily played nearby, oblivious to the weight of the conversation. "It's about Emily's biological father. It's not who you think." The world tilted. For a moment, he was rooted in disbelief, unable to comprehend. What do you mean? His voice lowered, fear creeping into his veins. Look, Jake, you know that I had my past. Before you, there was someone else. Emily may not actually be yours. I never told you because I didn't think it mattered. Jake's mind raced, memories flooding back. Was this true? Could it be? He remembered that dark time, the marriage unraveling and the shred of hope he clung to when Emily was born. She was his daughter. How could this be happening now? Are you serious? He whispered, his hands trembling. You're telling me I don't have a right to her? A part of him felt shattered. Everything he fought for it suddenly felt ripped away. But another part of him was racing, trying to grasp the implications. If she wasn't his, who was? Jake, listen, Karen continued, her tone softening slightly. I just found this out. I thought you should know. He couldn't grasp it, his stomach twisted in knots. The laughter of children around him faded, replaced by an overwhelming silence inside. Emily, so innocent and bright, playing and laughing, unaware of the storm brewing in her father's heart. Hey, Em, he called, forcing himself to look at her. Come here, sweetheart. As she hurried over, her curls bouncing with each step, Jake struggled to mask the turmoil swirling inside him. You're okay, right? We're good? She asked, sensing something in his expression. Yeah, of course. All good, he lied, though the unease lingered. He needed answers. He had to know the truth. Dad, can we go home? She asked. I don't want to stay here. A pang of guilt shot through him. She didn't deserve any of this. Sure, kiddo. We can go home. But as he walked away from the playground, the weight of the call still heavy on his shoulders, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The truth could shatter everything, or it could lead to something new. He glanced at Emily, heart aching with the burden of secrets. What if this new revelation changed everything he thought he knew? His mind raced. What kind of father was he if all that he believed was a lie? And who was the real father if he wasn't he? The questions hung heavy in the air as they reached the car. Was he about to lose her, or discover something deeper? The weight of uncertainty sat like an anvil in his heart. As he turned the key in the ignition, the engine roared to life, but all he could think about was what awaited him next. Who was waiting to be uncovered in the shadows of their lives? Jake's breathing quivered as they pulled out of the parking lot, the familiar route home feeling alien in the midst of swirling thoughts. Emily chatted about her day, recounting the moments of triumph over the monkey bars, her laughter bubbling like a gentle stream. Each giggle twisted like a knife in his gut, drawing attention to the lie he'd just learned. He fought the urge to ask her if she felt different, if she had some inkling that things weren't as they seemed. Instead, he nodded along, throwing in the occasional aha and that's great, sweetheart, but his mind was far removed from the present, wading through a sea of questions. Who was the real father? What did Karen know? How could she keep something like this hidden for so long? His grip on the steering wheel tightened, knuckles turning white. Are we there yet? Emily whined, breaking into his trance. Just a few more minutes, he said, glancing at her through the rearview mirror. Her brow was slightly furrowed, a sign that she could sense his distraction. He forced a smile. You tired from all that playing? She shrugged. I just want to be with you, Dad. The sincerity in her voice flooded his chest with warmth, but the shadows of doubt quickly crawled back in. What if this was the last time he could consider himself her father in the way he always had? When they finally arrived home, the comforting familiarity of their little house did little to ease the heaviness in his heart. Emily bounded ahead, her small form filled with life, while Jake lingered by the door, the weight of the secret threatening to crush him. Dad, come on. She called. Yeah, I'm coming, he murmured, forcing himself to step inside. He took a moment to collect his thoughts before following her, stepping into their cozy living room where every corner told stories of their days together. "Can we watch a movie?" Emily asked, bouncing on her heels, bringing a smile to his face that felt forced. "Sure, kiddo. What do you want to watch?" As they settled on the couch, Jake's heart raced. He could hardly concentrate on the animated characters dancing across the screen. Instead, his mind juggled the implications of that fateful call. Emily curled up beside him, resting her head on his shoulder, her warmth sending a pang of love through him. He wondered how to protect her innocence, to keep her from this looming shadow. Yet, keeping her in the dark felt just as wrong. He struggled with the paradox of wanting to shield her from pain while simultaneously needing the truth for himself. His thoughts spiraled as the cartoon unfolded, but he couldn't shake the sensation that the rug was being pulled out from under his feet. Each laugh and cheerful moment of Emily's felt like it belonged to someone else. Hours passed, and finally, the credits rolled across the screen. Emily, still snuggled close, sighed sleepily. "Can we get ice cream?" she mumbled. "Sure, let us celebrate your day," he replied, searching for a reason to break away from his internal chaos, even for a moment. As he stood to retrieve the ice cream from the freezer, Jake heard his phone vibrate on the counter. He hesitated, then glanced at the screen. It was a message from Karen. "Please, we need to talk more. I'll explain everything." His heart thundered at the thought of diving back into this spiral of uncertainty. He glanced back at Emily, who was yawning and struggling to keep her eyes open. What would he say to her when the truth came out? What would she feel knowing her father could be someone else entirely? As he swiped the screen to respond, a knot formed in his stomach. Would answering Karen's message lead to clarity or more chaos? Then the thought hit him like a bolt of lightning. What if Karen's news held the key to a relationship with Emily? If she truly wasn't his biological daughter, could he still claim her as his own? The room felt heavy as the weight of potential truths swirled like a storm. "Dad?" Emily's sleepy voice broke through once more. He turned to her, swallowing hard. "Yeah, sweetheart? When will I know how special I am to you?" The question caught him off guard, leaving him momentarily speechless. The emotions, raw and tangled, hung heavy in the air. "You're always special to me, Emily. No matter what." But was that true? Would he still feel that way if the truth altered everything? With that, Jake's fingers trembled over the screen as he contemplated sending the message. The fog of uncertainty turned into determination. He had to know the truth for both of their sakes. As he pressed send, a sense of foreboding washed over him. What would the next revelation bring, and how could it change their lives forever? The message hung in the air for what felt like an eternity. Jake's heart pounded against his ribcage as he waited for Karen's response. Emily had drifted off, her small form nestled against him, and he couldn't help but notice how peaceful she looked. A stark contrast to the raging storm in his mind. The soft glow of the phone screen illuminated his face, and he searched for reassurance in the messages that could help him make sense of this chaos. Would she explain everything? Or would it only deepen the chasm between him and the daughter he loved fiercely? He gently moved Emily so her head rested on the couch cushion. As he stood up, he felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. It felt increasingly unbearable to consider that each laugh and smile he cherished might have been built on a lie. Jake wandered into the kitchen, the familiar sense of their takeout dinner still lingering in the air. Hours had passed since they had eaten, yet it felt like he had just gotten the news seconds ago. He needed clarity or comfort, but what he had instead was uncertainty, echoed by the ticking clock on the wall. Finally, his phone vibrated, jolting him from his thoughts. He snatched it eagerly, almost dropping it in his haste to read Karen's message. "I'm outside, can we talk?" He blinked at the screen, his heart racing. Did she think that showing up would make it easier? There was no point in delaying the inevitable. He shot a quick reply, "I'll be right out." Jake took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever storm awaited him. He paced for a moment, thoughts spiraling. Would he remain Emily's father even if she was not biologically his? Or would that tie unravel with each painful truth spoken? Stepping outside, the cool evening air wrapped around him like a blanket. He spotted Karen leaning against her car, the fluorescent streetlight casting a harsh glow on her worried face. That familiar knot of anger welled up in him again. How could she have kept this from him? "Hey," he said, forcing the word out as he approached. "Jake," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The tension between them was palpable, memories of their fallen marriage swirling like ghosts in the air. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" His voice came out louder than he intended, echoing in the quiet street. "How could you keep something like this from me?" Karen looked down, avoiding his eyes. "I thought it was for the best for Emily." "Best?" The word tasted bitter on his tongue. "She deserves the truth, Karen. And so do I." A long silence stretched between them, broken only by the distant sound of a car passing by. She finally met his gaze, desperation reflected in her eyes. "I didn't know how to say it. I was scared of losing everything." Jake's pulse raced. Losing everything or losing control? Karen flinched, but her resolve faltered. "I know I messed up. But please, just listen to me. Then talk." His heart hammered insistently, urging him to get to the bottom of this. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "There's something you don't know about Emily. Something that changes everything." His breath caught in his throat. "Emily, she's more than you think." The world around him seemed to blur as the weight of her words sank in. He felt a chill crawl up his spine, an icy grip of dread settling within him. "What do you mean?" he pressed, desperate for an answer. Karen hesitated for a moment that felt like forever before releasing a single breath. "She's not just your daughter by love, biologically, she's mine with someone else." Shock hit him like a freight train, blurring the lines of reality. "Who?" Jake's mind raced, imagining 100 different lives, families he never knew about, and secrets bigger than him. "Jake, please just listen to me first." He could feel his world teetering, everything he thought they had crashing down around him. He clenched his fists, wanting to scream but knowing he couldn't. "You can't just drop this and expect me to, but what if it changes nothing? What if she's still the girl you love?" Silence enveloped them, heavy with unspoken pain. As emotions swirled around him, a question rose in his chest. Could love truly transcend biology? And if it could, how deep was the bond that tied him to the girl now sleeping on their couch? In that moment, the walls around him felt like they were closing in, and Jake understood they stood on the edge of a revelation that would reshape their lives forever. What could possibly come next? The words hung thick in the air, twisting like a knife inside Jake's chest. He blinked hard, trying to process the reality Karen had just dropped on him. The night felt heavier, each breath more laborious, as if the atmosphere itself had conspired against him. "How long?" he heard himself ask, each word a struggle to spit out around the lump in his throat. Karen's eyes flickered with pain. "Since before Emily was born. I didn't know how to tell you. I was scared you wouldn't want to be involved." "Scared I wouldn't?" Jake laughed bitterly. "And you thought keeping it from me was the answer?" "I thought it was for her sake," Karen pleaded, her voice cracking. "You loved her, Jake. You were a father to her. I didn't know how to take all that away from you. Or her." He looked away, but the truth of her words was like a shadow that refused to leave his side. Thoughts spiraled, bombarding him. Emily loved him. She called him Dad. All those precious moments they felt real. But what did it mean now? What about the biological father? Jake asked, the words tasting like ash. Is he in her life? Does he know? Karen shook her head, tears spilling silently down her cheeks. He never wanted anything to do with it. I was young and scared, and I thought I could do it alone. She paused, collecting herself. You were my rock. You were always the one I turned to. Turns out it was all a lie, he murmured, as anger bubbled beneath the surface. What if he wants to be in her life now? What if he comes back? Karen's face paled. I don't know. But you are her dad, Jake. You have been all along. The weight of her gaze was unbearable. Jake felt his heart battling between confusion and an overwhelming love for the girl who was now so intricately tied to this mess. What do I do? The question fell from his lips, raw and unsettled. Karen stepped closer, searching his face. You need to decide what you want. Do you want to keep being her dad, even if it means accepting the truth? Jake inhaled sharply, his chest tightening. Emily's laughter echoed in his mind, and a new resolve began to rise within him. I do. I want to be there for her, no matter what. She needs me. But how do I explain all of this to her? It's not all bad. Karen's tone softened, as hope tinted her voice. You can tell her how much you love her. That's what matters. The vulnerability of the moment washed over him. He felt stripped bare, laid out for the world to see. The love he felt for Emily surged stronger, wrapping itself around him like an unbreakable tether. Okay, he breathed, nodding as if convincing himself. I can do this. But doubt crept in, seedling fear whispering its torturous questions. What if I'm not enough? What if she needs more than I can give? You've always been more than enough. Just be honest. Jake nodded again, this time with more conviction. As pressure and hope mingled, he turned toward the door, glancing back at Karen. I'll need your help. We need to be on the same page. Of course, she replied, eyes glistening with fragile determination. For Emily. Heart racing, Jake stepped back inside, the door closing softly behind him. The darkness felt welcoming yet daunting. He was about to wake up the girl who saw him as a hero, but now he'd have to confront the shadows of his own doubts. He glanced at Emily, still peaceful in her sleep. The embrace of fatherhood had transformed him in ways he had never imagined. None of the secrets he unearthed could change that real love he felt for her. But as he prepared to bridge the gap between love and truth, he sensed an undercurrent of something else, another question lingering just out of reach. If love was strong enough to surpass biology, could the truth about her beginnings shatter it all? And what would happen when Emily woke up? Jake's heartbeat thundered in his ears as he approached Emily's room. The soft glow from the nightlight cast gentle shadows on the walls, creating a cocoon of warmth. It felt surreal, standing there in the presence of the little girl he loved so fiercely, knowing she was about to wake up to a world dipped in complexity. How was he supposed to unravel truths that could shatter her innocence? He had spent years building something wonderful, and now, he felt like a trembling house of cards. Steeling himself, he pushed the door open. Her hair fanned out like a halo against the pillow, and for a moment, he simply watched her. Memories flooded back her first steps, infectious giggles, the countless dark nights he had soothed her fears. Dad had become more than a title, it was woven into their life narrative. Emily, sweetheart. His voice was soft, hoping to bridge the chasm of uncertainty that stretched between him and the truth. Slowly, her eyelids fluttered open. Grogginess faded as her bright blue eyes met his. Daddy? She murmured, a smile breaking through the fog of sleep. It was just one word, but it warmed him, filling him with hope. Hey there, sunshine. She wiggled, sitting up and rubbing the sleep from her eyes. Can we make pancakes today? Absolutely. Pancakes it is. Jake forced a smile, but the tightness in his chest didn't ease. Emily leapt out of bed, energized and giggling. For a moment, Jake felt the weight of the world lift. But just as quickly, reality crashed in again. He had to talk to her. The questions churned in his mind. Would she understand? Would she still want him to be her dad? After breakfast, he decided to take the plunge. The kitchen was filled with the smell of syrup and sizzling batter, laughter echoing off the walls. But behind the facade of laughter lay a heavy silence that begged to be addressed. "Emily," Jake began, his voice slightly shaking as uncertainty clawed at him. "Yeah, Daddy?" She paused, looking up at him with innocent curiosity, syrup smeared across her cheek. He took a breath, felt the warmth of love wrap around him. "Can we talk about something important? Is it about pancakes? Because I could go for more." She giggled, trying to lighten the mood, oblivious to the gravity of the situation. "No, sweetheart. It's about," he faltered, searching for the right words, the ones that would ensure her safety above all else. "It's about family." Emily tilted her head, her eyes wide. "What about family?" He could feel his heart hammering against his ribs. "You know how much I love you. How I've always been here for you." "Yeah." She chirped enthusiastically, her innocence pulling at his heartstrings. "Well, there's something I have to tell you, something about where we all came from." Confusion flickered across her face as she took a step closer, eager but hesitant. "Like where you found me?" He stayed silent for a breath. "Something like that." Just as he was about to dive deeper, the doorbell rang, halting him. Jake sighed, glancing at the clock. It was too early for visitors. "Stay here, okay? I'll be right back." He walked to the door, heart racing for a whole different reason now. But as he opened it, the sight of the stranger standing there knocked the wind out of him. The man was unremarkable in appearance, but his presence felt like a storm rolling in. "I'm here for Emily." Jake tensed, words trapped in his throat. A million thoughts raced through his mind, mixing fear with an unshakable sense of protectiveness. "Who are you?" Jake demanded, feeling every muscle in his body coil with the need to protect Emily. The man's expression was serious, but it was the dark glimmer in his eyes that sent shivers down Jake's spine. "I'm her father." The world tilted, and everything inside Jake froze. In that moment, he understood the tremendous challenge ahead. Could he truly protect Emily from the truths he now found himself swept into? Jake's mind raced as he stared at the man standing in his doorway. Every muscle in his body screamed to act, to protect. He could barely process the words he had just heard. Her father. It felt like a punch to the gut. "Step away from the door," Jake said, a tremor of authority in his voice, even as doubt gnawed at his resolve. Emily was standing just behind him, oblivious to the rising tension, blissfully unaware of the stakes in this moment. The man crossed his arms, his gaze unwavering. "I have every right to see her. I've waited too long." "Waited? For what?" "You were absent." Jake felt the anger boil inside him. How dare this stranger waltz back into Emily's life after all those years? She doesn't even know you. You can't just barge in here as if everything is fine. Emily, sensing the shift in atmosphere, clutched Jake's shirt. "Daddy? What's happening?" The innocence in her voice shattered Jake's heart all over again. He knelt down, trying to shield her from the storm brewing at the threshold. "Nothing, sweetheart. Stay close to me," he said, his tone filled with both reassurance and desperation. He looked back at the man, whose jaw was set with determination. "She has a right to know who I am," the man insisted. "Her name is Emily. Emily Benson, right?" Jake's stomach churned. "You don't get to use her last name," he spat, his voice rising. "I haven't just stepped into the picture today. I'm her biological father." The man's words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Jake's heart raced. "What are you talking about? She has a father." His voice lost its conviction as he realized that technically, in blood, this man was correct. But it felt wrong. Family isn't about blood, it's about who loves you. I love her more than you know, Jake countered, but doubt seeped in. Would Emily see it that way when she learned the truth? The man's gaze softened, his posture shifting slightly. Look, I know this is sudden. I'm not here to take her away. I'm trying to make things right. You have to understand. How can I trust you? Jake demanded. You've been absent. Then Emily tugged gently at Jake's shirt again, her small voice cutting through. Daddy, who is this man? His heart sank at the question. He says he's your father, Em. But I'm here for you. I always will be. Emily's brow furrowed, confusion etched on her tiny face. But I have a daddy. Jake swallowed hard, words choking in his throat. He could see fear and anxiety flicker in her eyes. Would she feel betrayed? He had devoted every moment to being the best father he could be. We'll figure it out, he reassured her, though uncertainty gnawed at him. The man was watching intently, as if hoping for some sign from Jake. Please, give me a chance to explain myself. She deserves to know. If you love her, you should want that too. Jake turned to Emily, searching her face for a hint of understanding. Could he really allow this man into their lives? Could he step aside? The weight of every decision threatened to crush him. What if he hurts her? The voice inside him whispered. Emily, how do you feel about this? Jake asked, desperate to divert the attention back to her. I don't know, she admitted, her small hands shaking just a little as she bit her lip. Can we just play? I want pancakes, Daddy. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Jake looked back at the man, who was still watching with a mix of apprehension and hope. Let us go inside, and we'll talk, Jake said slowly, knowing there was no way to escape this moment. As they stepped back into the house, he felt the shadows of doubt swirl around him. Could this be the beginning of a partnership or the end of everything he had built? And as the door closed behind them, the air shifted again with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Emily shifted beside him, her trust in him flickering in the face of new truths. Daddy, is everything going to be okay? She asked softly. Jake took a deep breath, holding her close. I hope so, Em, I really hope so. But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Forever. Would he be able to keep her safe or lose her into the hands of someone who had no idea how to love her? The door had opened, but what awaited them on the other side was the real question. As they stepped into the cozy living room, the air felt charged, thick with the promise of a confrontation neither Jake nor the man had anticipated. The walls, lined with photos of laughter and memories, suddenly felt like a gallery of betrayal. Emily's innocent presence hung like a bright light in the darkening room. She remained close to Jake, her small hand gripping his tightly, as if she sensed the storm brewing around them. Let us sit, Jake said, motioning to the worn-out couch. He chose the space between Emily and the man, creating an unspoken barrier. The man hesitated, then sank onto the opposite end of the couch, leaving what felt like a vast chasm between them. Emily, honey, you can color if you want, Jake suggested, trying to distract her from the tension. He pointed to the pile of coloring books piled next to the coffee table. With a slight nod, she scampered off, her crayons spilling onto the floor as she clumsily retrieved a book. The man's gaze softened as he watched Emily. She's beautiful, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Yeah, she is, Jake replied with a hint of bitterness. How could you just leave her? You don't get to come back and pretend that everything is fine. I didn't know, Jake. I didn't know about her. His voice cracked with urgency. I was scared. There were things happening, really complicated things. Jake clenched his jaw. That doesn't excuse you. You missed her entire life. Don't act like you care now. As I said, I'm not here to take her away. I need to make things right, the man insisted, his voice rising slightly. Emily turned her head, looking up at Jake, her innocent demeanor shifting as she pieced together the tension in the room. Daddy, who is he? Why is he here? Her question pierced Jake's heart anew. He cursed under his breath, grappling with the truth. He says he is a part of your family, Em. Like my uncle? She asked, her childlike innocence painting the shards of reality with a veneer of hopeful misunderstanding. Something like that, Jake replied, ruffling her hair, feeling a mix of sorrow and protectiveness wash over him. You don't need to worry about this now. Just focus on your coloring. The man watched the interaction unfold, his expression pained. I didn't want to be a part of this until I was sure. It took me time to find out I had a daughter. Jake's patience frayed. So you just thought it was okay to stay away? She deserved better. I realize that now, the man responded earnestly, leaning forward. I've gotten my life together. I want to be there for her. Can't you at least consider letting me explain? Explain? You think that's enough after all this time? Jake's heart pounded in his chest. He looked over at Emily, who was now deeply engrossed in her drawing, utterly unaware of the storm swirling around her. I know everything will sound like excuses, but I'm here because I realized I can't keep running. I want her to know me. I don't want her to feel like she's missing a part of herself. Jake took a deep breath, the weight of the world pressing down on him. He was her dad, the one who had held her during the nights when she cried, the one who had celebrated her silly victories and wiped her tears. But was there any harm in allowing her to know this man? As if sensing Jake's turmoil, Emily looked up momentarily. Daddy, can we have pancakes now? He forced a smile. Sure, sweetheart. We'll make pancakes together. But part of him felt like those fluffy stacks were about to weigh down heavy on his heart. Please, just give me a chance to prove myself, the man pleaded, eyes bright with a mixture of hope and vulnerability. She deserves to know her roots. Jake's heartbeat thundered in his ears. He could feel the inevitable shift in their lives creeping closer. Would he really let this man back in? Okay, he finally muttered, words escaping before he could wrestle them back down. One chance. But if you hurt her I won tea, the man interrupted, relief washing over his features. Fine. But you'll have to earn my trust. Jake stood, keeping a protective arm around Emily as he turned to the kitchen. Every step felt monumental. Every pancake made meant unearthing more secrets. But as he flipped a pancake on the griddle, he couldn't shake the feeling that a thin thread was starting to unravel, loosening the ties he had bound his family with. And what if those ties couldn't hold? The future felt foggy and uncertain. Am I making a mistake? He pondered silently, flipping the pancake again, staring at the sizzling batter that could symbolize their lives. And just then, the doorbell rang again, a sound that echoed ominously through the house. Would his heart shatter, or would it be rebuilt anew? Jake sucked in a breath, knowing that whatever lay behind that door might alter their lives forever. Jake held the half-flipped pancake in his hand, the weight of uncertainty pressing down like a heavy anvil. The doorbell rang again, its echo fluttering through the kitchen like the gust of a winter wind. Who else could it be? He muttered, dread pooling in his stomach. Emily's eyes glittered with curiosity as she set down her crayons, and for a moment, the innocence in her face made Jake want to freeze time. Stay here, Em. I need to see who it is. He stepped toward the door, every step weighted by the heaviness in his chest. What if the visitor was someone else from his past? Or even worse, someone tied to the man in their living room claiming to be Emily's biological father? Taking a deep breath, he opened the door. Before him stood a tall woman with familiar features, her expression a mixture of urgency and fear. Karen, he breathed, confusion coloring his voice. Jake, we need to talk. I didn't want to knock, but I couldn't wait. Her words tumbled out, fraught with worry. Jake felt a wave of irritation rise within him. You're the last person I need to see right now. Please, just listen. She insisted, stepping closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. It's about the man you let in. You don't know the whole story. His stomach twisted with a potent blend of anger and protectiveness. I don't think I want to know any more stories, he retorted, his resolve firm but shaky. But as he looked into her eyes, he saw fear that sent a crack of concern through his heart. Tell me. I just found out his name is Tom. He is not only Emily's biological father, but he is also connected to something much deeper. Her voice trembled slightly. He is not just going to walk away this time. Jake's heart dropped. Connected to what? I was in touch with an old friend of his. Tom thought he could just step back into her life, but there's a history there. A past he is trying to escape, a past that can endanger Emily. Just then, Emily appeared behind Jake, her small frame framed by the doorway, eyes glancing between him and Karen. Daddy, who is she? Fighting against the lump in his throat, Jake knelt beside her. It's okay, sweetheart. Just some grown-up stuff. Are we having pancakes? She asked, her innocence disarming. Jake hoped desperately that those pancakes would be all that occupied her mind. Yeah, we're about to. Could we hurry? I'm hungry. She chirped, making Jake's heart ache with love and an overwhelming need to protect her. Turning back to Karen, he felt a sense of urgency wash over him. What else do you know? Karen took a breath, steely resolve plastered on her face. If Tom gets the chance, he'll take Emily and vanish. He wants to paint a pretty picture, but you have to be cautious. Jake's stomach twisted again, this time with fury. Why is this happening? Why has everyone lied? Her eyes softened with empathy. Because people are scared, Jake. But you have a chance here. It's about love, about what you fight for. Nodding, Jake returned to the living room, where the atmosphere felt charged. Tom remained on the couch, fingertips tapping nervously against the fabric. Jake's instincts flared. Stay put, Emily, he told her, moving toward Tom, who straightened in his seat under the weight of his gaze. Tom, Jake began, his voice low and edged with steel. You think you can just walk in here and decide to be her father? You have skeletons in your closet, and I'm not going to let you use her to escape them. Tom met his gaze defiantly. I'm not here to escape anything. I'm here to make it right. You think that's enough? You think you can just join this family like it's a game? Jake hissed, feeling the flames of protectiveness ignite further. I'm not trying to take her away. I just want her to know who I am. I'm not like before. I've changed. Have you? Jake pressed, fear and anger mixing in a volatile cocktail. And what if you disappear again? What if you hurt her? For just a moment, he caught a flicker of uncertainty crossing Tom's features. Emily's small voice piped in once more, her face scrunched in worry. Daddy, why are you and the man yelling? Jake turned to Emily, suddenly aware of the fragile atmosphere cloaking them. He knelt down again, forcing a warm smile though the panic raged inside him. We're just talking, Em. Nothing to worry about. It looks scary, she whispered, glancing back and forth. Hey, he held her small hand tightly. I promise I'll make sure you're safe. Nothing will change how I feel about you. Emily's brow furrowed as she considered his words. Then, are we still having pancakes? Jake chuckled, her innocent excitement almost breaking the tension in the room. Yes, we're going to make pancakes. All three of us. This time, it was Tom's turn to look taken aback. Really? I can help? No, Jake interrupted firmly, keeping a watchful eye. You can stay here and explain to her who you really are and why she shouldn't trust you. There was a stillness as everyone seemed to hold their breath, and in that moment, something shifted. Emily observed them, a thoughtful frown mingling innocence with intuition. No longer the carefree girl only concerned with pancakes, she was slowly grasping the weight of their conversation, and Jake's heart ached to shelter her from it. But Karen's words swirled in his mind: love conquers all. He felt an ember of hope rekindle amidst the chaos. Standing again, he took a deep breath, addressing Tom directly. You can have a chance. But you need to know you better put her safety first. If you only ever put yourself first again. Jake's voice dropped, firm and unwavering. That will be the end. Tom nodded, a seriousness in his gaze. Understood. I promise. Jake turned back toward Emily, the weight of his responsibility pressing against him. No matter what happens, I will always be here for you. You are my daughter, and that will never change. The understanding flickered between them, a shared promise echoing in the silence. Each fleeting moment, each spoken truth, began to carve out hope amid chaos. They had a long way to go, tangled together in a web of love and uncertainty, but they would navigate it together. And as the warm smell of pancakes began to fill the air alongside laughter, Jake felt the shadows of doubt start to lift, even if just a little. Families are made not just in blood but in love, resilience, and the unyielding bond that ties hearts no matter the chaos. Now, more than ever, he needed support from all of you. This is the moment to show your support and subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm and share a sprinkle of hope to the world. Comment down below your reactions and feelings about this wild ending. I want to hear from you. And finally, don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans know how important it is to support our community.